Okay, let's get into it. We have the conventions. The first convention we're going to talk about is NOS. It simply means not otherwise specified, all right? And we'll talk about it in a moment. NEC, not elsewhere classified. Brackets, these are synonyms or manifestation codes. Remember brackets? Parentheses, right? When we have words in parentheses, they are non-essential modifiers. Excludes one, never coded together. Excludes two, both can be coded together. These came out, I want to say maybe a decade ago, but they sent the coding community in an uproar. Even people with experience like I do, me and my colleagues, we were like, what the hell is going on with excludes one, right? And excludes two. So we're going to talk about these and give examples. So, guys, this is so tall, and I am 5'2", so bear with me. NOS, not otherwise specified or unspecified, okay? So NOS simply means the doctor did not give detail, okay? So for example, if we see the diagnoses of pneumonia, pneumonia is coded to J18.9, pneumonia unspecified, all right? So all that you see in the medical record, the doctor didn't give any specific pneumonia. He didn't say viral pneumonia, bacterial pneumonia, and so forth. The only thing we have is pneumonia. So when we index pneumonia in the alphabetic index, remember, right? We're going to look for unspecified. The code that we will see will be J18.9. We'll verify that in the tabular and so forth. So NOS, again, not otherwise specified or unspecified. Another example of this convention would be, say we see anemia, not blood loss, not acute blood loss, not any specific anemia. It's going to be D64.9. It's going to default to this convention of NOS, not otherwise specified. Again, another diagnosis, say for example, oitis media, unspecified. That's all the doctor or physician has stated in the chart. So that's going to code to H66.90. We don't even have a left or right. We just have oitis media. So NOS, not otherwise specified, or simply unspecified. So let's talk about NEC now. NEC is not elsewhere classified, right? Or other specified. Doctor gave detail for this one, but there's no exact code for it in the index. So let's talk about how this would go. So for example, I have the diagnosis of dermatitis, okay? So the physician documented a specific dermatitis, for example. And just for example, for this video, I'm going to say the type of dermatitis, which is a skin, derm, and I'm dipping into medical term a little bit. Itis, infection or inflammation. So we have dermatitis. We have a specific, say the doctor called it googly dermatitis. So we're in the alphabetic index looking for dermatitis, right? Because that's our main term. Now, we're looking for a subterm to indicate googly, but there's no subterm that says googly. So the convention NEC says not elsewhere classified, meaning the doctor gave a specific diagnosis, but we cannot find googly. So therefore, it's other specified. And usually our NEC codes will end with a 0.8 or a 0.89. So for this specific example, L30.8, other specified dermatitis, right? You guys see that? It's still dermatitis. And 0.8 is saying it's other specified. And it is. It's dermatitis, googly dermatitis, other specified. Okay, so it's not saying unspecified because we could not find the code for googly dermatitis. It was specified, so other specified dermatitis L30.8. So let's go to the brackets. This is another ICD-10-CM coding convention. Remember, as I stated before, coding conventions, there is a hierarchy. Coding conventions trump coding guidelines, okay? And we'll explain that in another video, right? So we want to always make sure that we are following coding conventions so that we can land with the right code. Here we go. So for example, let's look at Parkinson's disease with dementia. The codes right now for Parkinson's disease is G20, right? When we index this in the alphabetic index, guys, we're looking for Parkinson's disease with dementia. So we're going to see F02.80 for our dementia. Okay, so when we see brackets around a code, it's a code the cause first. Okay, this is a manifestation. So it's simply saying dementia came from the Parkinson's disease. All right, so it's letting you know as a coder, this will always be sequenced second in the brackets, and this code here outside the brackets will be listed first. So it's simply code the cause first, which is the G20, the dementia second, the F02.80. All right. Always remember, if you're keeping notes, brackets always are second. That's the most simplest form I can give you guys, okay? And I do have my notes to help. So the brackets show extra information. In the index, they flag a manifestation that's coded second. So remember, brackets are coded second, outside the brackets are coded first. This again is another one of the ICD-10 coding conventions. Okay, excludes one. Here we go. Not ever coded together. Simply what it means. It's not ever coded together. Not ever, never, never in this lifetime will we code these two codes that we see, right, next to an excludes one coding convention together. Pick the right family. So for example, I have diabetes mellitus type 1. If you go to the alphabetic index and you find your code for type 1 diabetes, right? And you also notice in the chart that the physician documented, or it's on a progress note, a consult, we see diabetes mellitus type 2, right? So we're coding, and I'm a new coder. And so you find the code for type 1 unspecified, it's E10.9, okay? And then you're like, all right, I'm in progress note number 3, or I'm on a consult, and I see a diagnosis for diabetes type 2. So that code is E11. Let me write these codes down. So type 1 is E10.9. Type 2 is E11.9. Because sometimes it's better if we see it. Type 2. I put 2 right here. Nope. Type 2. And this board is slippery. Diabetes type 1. All right. So this is what it looks like. You've coded this correctly. This is correct. This is correct. However, we're going to see an excludes. I can't even spell it, guys. Excludes 1. When we get to the tabular, right? Remember, the tabular is the second part of the book. I should have had my books here. 1 second. Let me show you just in case. So the tabular is the second part of the ICD-10-CM. Really quick. I am back, guys. So we're looking at the book. The ICD-10, the first part is alphabetic. The second part, the colored part, is the tabular, all right? That's just for my newbies that's here, okay? So when we get to the tabular, we're going to see an excludes 1 under E11.9. This is simply stating, right, that if we have E10.9, which is diabetes type 1, we can never code E11.9 together, all right? Another example that I have here, misspell hypertension, guys. Essential hypertension, I10, secondary hypertension, I15.0. We can never code an essential hypertension with a secondary hypertension. It's either or. Okay, so if you're asking, well, Tosh, what do I do in that case, right? Because a coder, codes or translates medical diagnoses into alphanumeric codes. That's a great question. You're going to have to query the physician, right? Whatever query process your facility uses, or if I'm talking to one of my mentees, one of my students of the blueprint, you are going to know that you have to query, all right? So if this comes up on your certification exam, you will know the correct course of action would be to query for clarification. So basically, doc, does your patient have type 1 diabetes or type 2? It is noted in progress note ABC, type 1. It is noted in progress note XYZ, type 2. And the physician is responsible for the diagnosing of their patient. So they would respond and give you the correct diagnosis, and therefore we could be correct in our coding. So that is excludes 1 in a nutshell. Let's go on. Let me erase this because I may be writing again. So yes, guys, coding is more than just assigning a code. These conventions are very important because if you want success in the career, you want to make sure that your codes are accurate. Okay, excludes 2. Excludes 2 says the condition is not included here, but it can coexist, right? What does that mean? Because it's almost like I hear people that I train, they're like, it's saying that we can code these codes together. Don't we code codes together while we're coding? Exactly, we do. But let me explain what this excludes 2 is really saying. The condition is not included here, but it can coexist. So code both, okay? So look at this. So we have AKI, right, which is an acronym for acute kidney injury. The code for that is N17.9, okay, alphanumeric. ICD-10-CM code is N17.9 for acute kidney injury, right? We also notice in the record, the patient's medical record, that the patient has a history of chronic kidney disease, stage 3, right? And I use history used loosely, guys, because you'll see that where it's noted that there's a history of a disease, right, or a diagnosis. But we know that chronic kidney disease is a chronic condition, right? It's something that the patient has every day, right? So chronic kidney disease, stage 3, right now is coded to N18.30. So you will go to the tabular list, right? So we're using our books, and we're going to code these 2. And in the tabular list, remember the tabular is the second part of the ICD-10-CM book. You will see a list of codes, okay? One of these codes or a series of these codes will be the chronic kidney disease and the stages that are associated, okay? There's 5 stages plus the end stage, which is 6, okay? chronic kidney disease, stage 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then end stage is when they need hemodialysis or peritoneal dialysis, guys. Okay, let's get back to excludes 2 though. Excludes 2 says not part of this code, but allowed. You can add another code. So, acute kidney injury, right? You can also add chronic kidney disease, right? There's still diseases of the kidney, and kidney. I'm trying to make sure you guys see what excludes 2 is saying. The condition, chronic kidney disease, is not included in acute kidney injury, and vice versa. Chronic kidney disease is not here, and acute kidney injury is not here. But they are both documented in the medical record. So when we see excludes 2 in the tabular, because that's where we'll see our coding conventions, that's where we'll see our excludes 2s or excludes 1 or, similar. So this is saying that these 2 can be coded together. Parentheses. I'm going to have to write this now, guys. This is blank, but this is very important. Let's see. Let me grab my marker. Okay, so parentheses is another non-essential modifier. It's another ICD-10-CM coding convention. All right. Parentheses, when we see words in parentheses, they are non-essential modifiers. I'll put that here. Non-essential. Non-essential modifiers. Okay. Hopefully I spelled that correct. All right, let's give an example of parentheses. So we see a diagnosis of, let's see, urinary, okay, let's see. And I had an example for you guys. I can't even think of it really quick. Non-essential, okay, non-essential modifiers mean, say we have a diagnosis of pneumonia. That's ugly. This is a P. And remember, we're in the alphabetic index. And you may see a parenthesis next to it, and you'll, okay, so we might have acute, right? It might be double. Well, not that it may, it is. Actually, I wanted to actually show you guys what it looked like. Migratory. And excuse the mess on that P, guys, right? So, pneumonia, parentheses, non-essential modifiers, okay? Words in parentheses are non-essential modifiers, okay? Whether they're in the note or not, the code stays the same. All right, so this is still going to code. That scared the mess out of me. That is still going to code out to J18.9. It is still pneumonia unspecified. Okay, even if you're in the medical record and you see acute pneumonia, if you see double pneumonia, if you see migratory pneumonia, these are non-essential modifiers, okay? So if you don't see acute, if you don't see double, if you don't see migratory, it is still going to code out to J18.9. And those are parentheses, non-essential modifiers. So if you're on your, say, your certification exam, this is what it's asking. What does the coding convention parentheses mean? These are non-essential modifiers, which simply means whether they're in the note or not, the code will stay the same. The code will stay the same, guys. So let's go through what we just went over. So we have NOS, not otherwise specified. Let me flip back to that so you guys can see if you didn't write it down. Okay, hold on. And I thought we were. Okay, conventions. NOS, not otherwise specified. All right. The doctor didn't give any detail. NEC, not elsewhere classified. Other specified. The doctor gave detail, but there's no exact code for it. So remember we said googly dermatitis. Of course there's no code, well, for googly. There may be one day, right? But not elsewhere classified. So these are going to end, remember, in 0.8 or 0.89 are codes that are other specified. Our unspecified codes will end in 0.9. Brackets, synonyms, or manifestation codes. So remember we had our Parkinson's, right? Our Parkinson's was the G20, and the manifestation, or what came from the Parkinson's, was the dementia. So our dementia code was inside the brackets. That's what brackets mean. You're going to code what's in the brackets second, not two, second, guys. What's outside the brackets is coded as first, second is the bracket code. Then we talked about parentheses, right? Parentheses, well here, brackets, parentheses. Non-essential modifiers. We don't need to see the terms or the words that's inside the parentheses to code the code. So see, medical coding is a skill, guys. These coding conventions, these are the must-haves. In the next video, I'm going to go over C also, and I think it's use additional codes. Once we master the conventions, remember the conventions tell you what goes on inside the code book, all right? Then the guidelines are what happens outside, so to speak, the book, okay? Like principal diagnoses, we're looking outside the book, okay? For that, we're looking to documentation. The coding conventions is what's going on inside this book right here, ICD-10-CM, all right? And this is diagnoses, remember that. So medical coding is a skill. It is a highly specialized skill, but a skill can be learned. A skill can be mastered, all right? Like reading. Reading is a skill, okay? There's rules to reading, okay? We have phonics. We know that the letters PH, we don't walk around and say Pahone. If we have PH on OUN or ONE, it's phone. So I'm making light of it, but I want you to know that if you're here, if you're interested in this career, it is a career, not a job. It is definitely learnable, teachable, but you have to be teachable. That's it, okay? I have been, again, in the industry for over 25 years. I did not start with a medical background, guys. I have went from no income, low income, you name it. Single mom at 25, the whole nines. Section 8 food stamps, all of it. 4 years later, 6 figures, 5 figures. It's like 95,000, okay? So yeah, thank you for joining me today. This, again, is the coding conventions for ICD-10-CM. Again, we will go through, I believe we have 4 more to get through. So join me in the next video. And again, subscribe if you're not a subscriber, right? And leave a comment. Let me know if you learned, if there's anything else I can walk you through on this journey. I would be happy to share. Thank you again for watching, and see you in the next video.